Vegeta's pride. Sure, we all have our thoughts. Some better, some maybe more critical. His pride. Too many, it's a flaw, right? A wound he keeps reopening, but he's certainly worked on it, and I think he's done tremendous work for where he's at now. But there's still moments where it does cost him. I would say more in the manga than the anime, which is kind of the weird thing, but nonetheless. What if we've actually misunderstood his pride in some twisted way? What if Vegeta's pride wasn't really his weakness, but actually his greatest weapon? You see, in a timeline where pride doesn't blind him, it actually focuses him. It isn't about being better than others. It's about being the best version of himself. Every defeat, every setback becomes a forge, not for ego, but for discipline. Some of you already ahead of the game are thinking, wait a minute, you're just referring to Ultra Ego, right? Well, yes, but we're talking about Ultra Ego completely embodied in his character. There's still the arrogant, prideful Vegeta 98% of the time, right? Arms crossed, just can't be happy, right? Okay, there's still pride involved in that in some extent. We're saying take that away, okay? He doesn't rage at Goku's victories, but he studies them, which he does now. In fact, I think he does that very closely, but when he studies them, he's not really breaking them down under essentially his own failures. He's reflecting, he's refining, and then he's returning to the battlefield. You see, I think what Vegeta's current character does, he really studies what Goku is able to exploit in his opponents, because Vegeta's not trying to copy Goku. Nothing about Vegeta's fighting style is even remotely close to Goku's if you pay just 2% attention, right? But he's learning how Goku exploits or is exploited in battles, and that's where Vegeta comes up with his own way of adapting to combat and the scheme at hand, regardless of what opponent or whomever he may be dealing with. I think that's important to keep in mind here under this context. Insert quote now. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. That's how pride becomes a weapon, when it's rooted in self-awareness. So this Vegeta doesn't shout at the stars, guys. He trains in silence. He does that, yes, but again, you have to understand, we're talking about a complete change in philosophy to such an extent that his character changes. I have to keep reminding people of that. Not because he must, but because he would choose to live a life such as that. And when the moment comes, when the universe would obviously need him, he doesn't explode in fury. He rises, he's calm, he's composed, the culmination of all his inner battles. It's the same experience we have been able to witness in some essence of his character in times throughout. In fact, some of you may argue that we've seen that Vegeta this entire time. I would argue it depends on the moment and the context and the severity of the moment that would dictate whether we saw that Vegeta or whether or not we saw shades, fragments, and glimpses of that Vegeta. Because pride here, it would not be a wall for him, it would be a mirror, a tool for growth, not resistance. Maybe that's where his character is finally heading, right? Maybe that's where we're kind of coming back to full circle. So this version of Vegeta doesn't seek validation, he becomes it. I think he's doing that with Ultra Ego, but to what extent will he be at that point all the time? Again, that's the main circle we're targeting here, because he wouldn't just be a prince, he wouldn't be a philosopher of power, living proof that pride isn't just a chain, it's a sword. And that is what I'm hoping Vegeta's character is doing as whatever canon continuity of Dragon Ball rolls around. It's kind of a mess as we speak, unfortunately, with the passing of Akira Toriyama. But when it comes to the story context there, once it's sorted, if it's Toru that presumably is supposed to be taking the control and the direction, I'm curious to see if he'll continue to develop Vegeta's character in that way, or if pride will only be a motivating weapon and a sword when the necessary situation deems it, not just as a way of life for Vegeta's character. Let me know your thoughts, what you feel about it, and anything else to relate in context, even some other topics we could discuss. Always game, boys. Stay strong.